How's it going, traders? Hopefully you guys enjoy this weekly Forex forecast, and make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. All right, starting things off with the US dollar COT report. The past week, the banks added 1,100 longs and they got rid of 363 short positions. And remember, this COT report spreadsheet is very important as it helps us see what the banks and the large institutions are doing throughout the week. And that COT report spreadsheet is available on Patreon. So looking at the daily chart here on the dollar, in last week's forecast, I talked about how this demand zone looked like it was going to be removed. And now we are contacting this daily demand zone. We have lost momentum by removing this demand zone, but this is a very significant daily demand as well. And remember, the overall trend is still up, so I do expect the dollar to continue up. I also believe we could see a reaction off here and then a push back down. And why do I think that's going to happen? Well, I will explain exactly why I believe that could happen. It's because if you see here, I circled this area. I don't have this as demand, but it is certainly some sort of buying. So I do think that it's very possible that we could be seeing the US dollar at least see a little bit more downward pressure until we contact this area of buying. And that area is located at about 105.192. So I do believe the US dollar could definitely pull back down to that area. But I don't really want to be shorting. I totally agree. We do have very strong 4-hour downtrends. We have my 4-hour supply zones holding up very well. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be shorting the US dollar because if you look at the weekly chart, once again, we have nothing but an extremely strong uptrend with a buying area about to be contacted. So I would wait for this to be contacted and then possibly look for long positions in the US dollar. All right, on to EURUSD. In the past week, the banks added 2,100 long positions and they also added 1,005 short positions. Hey everyone, just wanted to remind you guys to check out the Level 2 Patreon and YouTube membership. In this membership, we have a private members live stream every Sunday where we go over any pair or stock that you guys would like to go over. Recently, I also added a whole video series on confirmation trading with supply and demand. Very excited about this new addition I added to the membership. It's all part of me trying to make this membership as worth it as possible. So definitely check out the Level 2 membership. We also have a private Discord and also custom chart analysis. So be happy to see you guys join the team. Links are in the description down below. All right, now we're going to look at the EURUSD chart. And remember in last week, I talked about how we are reacting off of this weekly area of demand right here. And remember, we do have a weekly downtrend. So longs are very, very aggressive. And to be very, very clear, there's a few options I see here on Euro. Yes, there is a daily demand zone down here. You could certainly look for a quick little confirmation trade on the 1-hour chart inside of here. And by quick, I mean looking to take profits very early if you do end up getting long. But remember, you're trading against the downward trend. But what I would be doing is be looking at this 4-hour chart. This 4-hour chart is going to tell us a lot about what's going to happen here on the Euro. Now, as you can see, price is kind of all over the map. In last week's forecast, I talked about this area of demand right here, and I said I would wait for this demand zone to be removed before getting in short, and whatever zone was that did that would be a decent zone to look for confirmation in. And as you can see here, we had this zone right here. So you could have got a little 15-minute confirmation trade coming off of there. But now, price is sideways. We don't know where this is going to head. I am suspecting that price will go down lower based on the weekly downtrend, but we have no evidence of that in place just yet. So to be very clear, what I'll be doing, what you should be doing as well, in my opinion, is looking at this 4-hour chart. To keep it very simple, if we can remove this high right here, and as well as this supply, we will have the ability to draw a 4-hour uptrend. And then from that point on, I think looking for longs on a 15-minute, a 5-minute chart is completely fine, because what I think is happening, if that does happen, is we are just going to be pulling up to this daily area of supply right here, and then we will be moving down. But I would definitely wait for that 4-hour uptrend to start before doing that. Ultimately, I want to be trading with the weekly downtrend, so I'm probably only going to be looking for short positions. And what I'm going to be doing for short positions is the same thing. I'm going to be on this 4-hour chart, but what I'm going to look for is for this demand to be taken out. So once this demand's taken out, any 4-hour supply zone right here, that could be a nice little 4-hour supply zone where you could look to trade a confirmation trade in on a 15-minute chart. So hopefully all of this makes sense on the Euro. Might be a little complicated, but I try to do my best to break everything down as best as I can. XAUUSD forecast, gold. The past week, the banks added 657 longs, and they also added 2,922 short positions. Something very interesting here on gold. It actually looks very similar to the Euro chart, where we had price pushing up with, a daily downtrend. At least on the daily chart, it looks somewhat similar. Now, in last week's forecast, I did talk about this support area that I thought we could see a reaction off of, and we clearly did. Ultimately, I think we're probably pulling up to this weekly area of supply, where this is a fantastic area to potentially look for a little short position trade down back to here. So until that happens, we won't really be talking about that in here. So technically, you could be looking for longs, although you'll be trading against a daily downtrend. It is a very risky trade. But at the end of the day, I think it's somewhat decent. So what I would be doing for longs here on gold is I would be waiting for this supply to be taken out. And whatever zone we have here, that could be a little confirmation zone. Or if you want to get more aggressive, you could wait for price to pull back to about 1745 in this demand zone and look for a 15-minute confirmation coming off of that zone there. And if you don't know what confirmation is, check out my trading tips playlist. Link is in the description down below. So ultimately, I don't really know what to be doing here on gold. I do think gold, we could see more downward pressure. Ultimately, in the long run, I do believe gold will be going much higher and will be breaking, above 2,000 at some point. When? I am not 100% sure. But for me, what I'm waiting for, I don't want to be trading against a daily downtrend or against the weekly downward momentum. So what I'm going to be doing is waiting for this weekly supply to be hit, and then I'll be looking for a confirmation trade coming off of there on gold. I really am not interested in buying gold until I can see evidence that this weekly supply is no longer valid. So that's going to have to be removed for me to feel comfortable getting long in gold. So hopefully all of that makes sense, and hopefully we can get a nice little trade here on gold. Okay, on to USDJPY forecast. And in last week's forecast, one thing I take pride in is not always showing you guys trading setups, but showing you what to wait for a trading setup. And in last week's forecast, I talked about how this supply needed to be removed before we get in long. And if you look, not only did we get a reaction off of it, but that could have actually been a little bit of a trade right there. So we didn't quite react off of it there, but you can just see the sheer power of my zones and just supply and demand in general. Look at the move down from here. So clearly the zone that I pointed out last week is very, very significant, and hopefully you guys listened and didn't just hop on board as price went up, got in long, and then got stopped out by this supply. So just wanted to point that out. It's very important to know what zones need to be removed before even we enter in short or long. So as far as the COT report goes for USDJPY, the past week the banks added 3,100 longs and they added 932 short positions. Now remember, if you look at a bigger picture here on USD I've been very, very bullish on this pair. We have a weekly uptrend right here, but if you look, this daily uptrend has now been actually removed. So I do think we are going to see a pullback in USD Japanese yen. So coming to the daily chart here, we had this upward trend line removed. It's basically removed. We haven't had the daily close yet, leaving us with a potential supply zone right here. So I don't want to be trading against the weekly trend, but if you are wanting to short USD yen, I really don't blame you based on the 4-hour downtrend. And now we have lost momentum on the daily chart. If you're feeling risky and wanting to short, right here is your daily supply zone to potentially look for a short trade off of for confirmation. Confirmation will definitely be needed coming off of that daily supply if we get that. That's pretty much all I see. Technically, since if you look at the top right and bottom right screen, you can see we have 4-hour downtrends and 1-hour downtrends. So in that situation, we could be taking supply zones along the way short on a 15-minute chart or a 5-minute chart. That's completely fine. As far as what I want to see before we get in long, there's two options. Well, we have a 4-hour downtrend here. If we can get this 4-hour downtrend removed like this, removing the downward trend line and the supply zone, leaving us with 4-hour demand, that would be your confirmation that price is going to be going higher on USD yen. That is the more aggressive confirmation for longs. The more conservative, which is what I will be doing, is looking at this daily supply. Yes, we could see a reaction off of this supply, like I said, but since we have a weekly uptrend, I don't suspect it to hold. So what I'm going to be waiting for is waiting for this supply to be taken out, leaving us hopefully with demand, and that would be my confirmation area where I will look for a confirmation trade. So hopefully all of this makes sense on USDN, but at the same time, we could just see momentum starting to shift because it's very possible, you know, we're kind of due for a pullback here on USDN. It's very possible we pull back down to this weekly area of demand at about 128.299. So keep in mind that, you know, all options are on the table right now. We'll just have to wait and see what happens on the 4-hour chart and the daily chart to really see what's going to happen. GBPUSD forecast. The past week, the banks added 2,600 longs and they got rid of 597 short positions. Now, if you're a day trader, I'm sure you're saying, wow, what an uptrend here on the pound, longs all the way. But it's very important, and what I take pride in my forecast is showing you guys the bigger picture. All we have here is a weekly and a daily downtrend. Yes, right now we are currently testing the daily downtrend by contacting the daily downward trend line. So it's a little bit of a difficult time, and you know, what should we be doing? Right now, I'm actually staying away from the pound, at least for now. I think it's very possible we see this downward momentum break and we start to, you know, push more to the upside and trap traders in long, where eventually price will probably roll over and continue to trade with that daily downtrend, that weekly downtrend. So as far as any setups go, I don't even really disagree with people looking to get in long. But the only thing is, you have to be looking for longs on like a 5-minute or a 15-minute or a 1-minute chart, because those time frames make the most sense, and you could definitely get your profit on those time frames. Now, what I'm going to be looking for, I want to be trading with the weekly downtrend. So I'm going to be looking on this 4-hour chart, and if we get something like this where we remove this upward trend line and this demand, that would be the zone I would look for a potential confirmation trade in. I don't really like to day trade anymore, but if I'm around, I will be looking for possible trading opportunities in there. So that's all I'm looking at here on the pound. It's kind of just a weird situation where we have lower time frame uptrends like on the 4-hour and the 1-hour chart, but the daily and the weekly are downtrending. So what I think we're seeing is just a little bit of a shift up, and eventually price will probably roll back over. So it all depends on what time frame you trade. And what that means is that, you know, like I said, if you're going to be going in long, it's got to be day trading, because we have 4-hour uptrends, but we have weekly downtrends. So hopefully all that makes sense. If I confuse anybody, I do apologize, and don't hesitate to leave a comment down below asking me to clarify anything. So the pound, I'd be a little bit cautious trading it. Ultimately, we have a weekly downtrend and daily downtrend, but there's nothing wrong with day trading long to the upside. All right, USDCAD forecast. The past week, the banks got rid of 4,728 longs, and they added roughly about the same short positions at 4,374 shorts. Now, the weekly chart and the daily chart are very, very strange. There's just not a lot of, you know, clear direction. So what I'm going to be focusing here on USDCAD is the 4-hour and the 1-hour chart. As you can see, we have a 4-hour downtrend and we have a 1-hour downtrend. So in my opinion, shorts are definitely a go on the 15-minute or a 5-minute chart. Now, there was a little bit of a 4-hour supply zone here. You could have looked to get a confirmation trade in, but we never really got the pullback to that area. So now it's kind of off of the table for now. Now, as far as any positions go, the only thing I can really recommend, and remember, nothing is financial advice, just what I would be personally doing, is you could be set and forget trading on a 15-minute or a 5-minute chart. Basically what that is you are just set and forget trading this 4-hour downtrend and also this 1-hour downtrend as well. That's pretty much all I see here. And if you don't know what set and forget trading is, check the trading tips playlist, link is in the description down below. So not much to say here on USDCAD, but you know, shorts on the lower time frames like 1 minute, 5 minute, and 15 minute are completely fine. All right, on to the Aussie dollar. And really quick, in last week's forecast, I talked about how we had a very significant 4-hour supply zone. And I said I wouldn't really be going in long until we can get this supply zone removed, and whatever demand zone down below was responsible for removing it, that would have been a nice little demand zone to look for a confirmation trade in. And as you can see, what a move from this 4-hour demand zone. Just wick through it, but usually traders, including myself, like to put a nice little stop loss well below the zone. So congratulations to anybody who got involved in there. So as far as the weekly as far as the call report goes for the Aussie dollar, the past week the banks got rid of 554 longs and they added 3,600 short positions. Now the Aussie dollar, we do have a weekly chart, we do have a weekly downtrend here. the daily downtrend has actually just kind of been removed. Not 100% removed, but it is, somewhat removed. And now we are left with demand down here. Let me just draw that out for myself and for you guys and the members. So as far as the Aussie dollar goes now, yes, we do have uptrends on the 4-hour and the 1-hour chart. So technically you could be day trading to the upside on the 1 minute, 5 minute, or a 15-minute chart. And your targets are pretty obvious at about 0.72 at this daily supply. But remember, if you are going to be getting in long, you are trading against a weekly downtrend. But that does not mean that's incorrect. It just means it's aggressive, and there's nothing wrong with being aggressive. So as far as setups go right now, to show you guys, I do not see anything, to be completely honest. What I would be waiting for is for this high to be removed, and then if that happens, I would be on a 15-minute, 5-minute, or a 1-minute chart, and I'd be looking for significant demand zones to be looking to get in long, for some day trades. But that's not even what I'm going to be doing. I don't really day trade anyways, and I wouldn't even really be doing that if I was day trading, because we have a weekly downtrend. I'm just showing you guys because I know there's a lot of people who like to trade aggressively, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, but you are trading against the higher time frame downtrends. So not much else to see here on the Aussie dollar. I do suspect we will see it turn around, but I also think, looking at the daily chart, I do think it's very possible, we pull back maybe up to here. I'm not saying we're going to get a pullback all the way up to this daily supply, but at the same time, I think we could see a little bit of a push up, and then it's going to roll over. That's what I see happening here on the Aussie US dollar. USDCHF forecast. The past week, the banks added 1,577 longs, and they also added 1,190 short positions. Now, we do technically have a weekly uptrend, although the most recent price action here is clearly sideways, and even the daily chart, it's just kind of going sideways. So I'm not 100% on going long right now, and what I could suspect is going on is we are just seeing a pullback down to this weekly area of demand, where we will then see a big move up. That is what I think is going on. So what you could be doing is you could be day trading the lower time frames. Hopefully you guys notice a theme of this forecast is all I really see is day trading the lower time frames to the short side right now against the US dollar, waiting for a bigger pullback so we can start to buy the US dollar again. So we do have some sort of 4-hour downward momentum, and we also have a 1-hour very clear and clean 1-hour downtrend. So now what I would be doing is waiting for some zones. So there's a few options. You could be set and forget trading a 5-minute or a 15-minute chart or a 1-minute chart to the downside. Anytime, I guess you could be doing that. Or if you're more conservative and you want to wait for a 1-hour supply zone, what you need to do is wait for this demand to be taken out, leaving us with 1-hour supply, and then you could look for 5-minute confirmation or 1-minute confirmation coming off of that 1-hour supply zone. So not much really to see here on the USD Swiss. Yes, there's a 1-hour zone here, but I'm not a fan of it. So it's pretty much just a waiting game and set and forget trading on the lower time frames. I'm almost getting sick of repeating the same thing on every pair, but that's, I'm just speaking the truth and what I see. So as far as this goes, it's shorts on the 5-minute, 1-minute, or 15-minute chart on the USDCHF. All right, last but not least, we have crude oil. The past week, the banks got rid of 6,200 longs and they added 5,600 short positions, but overall, they are still 77% long. Now, looking at oil, I have talked about how I think we could, on the weekly chart, top left screen, we could be pulling back to about 87.5. That's where I think we could be pulling back on oil. And if you look at a daily chart here, we just contacted this daily demand again. I know this chart might look a little messy, but I took the liberty to make a little support level right here. So as you can see, support level right here, that is where a lot of people have been picking this pair up, picking oil up as far as longs go. So it's not a surprise we are seeing price push back up again. So as far as trading goes, I don't want to even be trading any of this right now. Yes, we have a weekly uptrend, but I very, very much suspect we will be pulling back down a little bit lower here in oil. So I'm not a huge fan of getting in long just yet, or even short, because we have the weekly uptrend. But one thing that's very significant that happened here in oil is we lost momentum on this 4-hour chart. Clearly, the 4-hour downtrend was removed, leaving us with demand. And then we saw, a beautiful reaction off my demand zone right here. because that was a zone that was responsible for removing the downward trend line. So now, to be very, very clear, I wouldn't be getting in long oil until we can see that high removed, because then we will have the ability to draw the upward trend line, and then we can start to day trade the 15-minute, 5-minute, or 1-minute chart to the upside. Now, if price would have been up here today, I would have said you could definitely look for a 15-minute confirmation coming off of this 4-hour area of demand. But that has obviously happened already. So just to be very clear, I would just wait for this high to be removed. Yes, it technically was wicked through, but I want to see a full removal of that high, because then we will have the ability to draw the 4-hour uptrend. Then we can start to trade in long. As far as it goes right now, yes, there is a 1-hour demand zone right here. You could look for 5-minute confirmation coming off of here, but it's just looking very weak, and there's still about an hour, or sorry, the market's just about to close, but it's just looking very weak, so I wouldn't even bother looking to get in long just yet here on oil. It's a little bit of a tricky one. I do hope it falls down to 87.5, because I'll be looking to acquire more oil stocks or whatever. So hopefully all that makes sense here on oil. It's just a little bit of a tricky one, especially since we're reacting off of support, and I do suspect we will probably see some sort of liquidity move down, stopping everyone out down here. So I do suspect that to happen. That is why I'm personally just staying away from oil, but hopefully you understand what I was talking about for waiting for that 4-hour uptrend, so that we can wait and see that happen before we get in long. Hopefully you guys found this weekly Forex forecast helpful. If you did, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like and check out the Patreon or YouTube membership if you need help finding your supply and demand zones. It's only $5 CAD per month. Hope to see you guys there, and hope to see you in the next video.